Over the last decade, we've been spoiled as fans of shmups, shooters, STGs, or whatever the hell you want to call these amazing games of pure bullet pandemonium. Many of the very best shooters that remain locked on arcade boards for the last 2 decades have gradually been given widespread releases via console and PC ports. Of course, if you've been using MAME, then none of this really matters since you've been playing games like ESP Rade and Dangon Feveron for the last 20 years anyways. But if you're a console peasant or someone lacking the knowledge to get MAME running and configured, then many of these amazing arcade-exclusive shmups have remained out of your reach this whole time. Because of all this, creating this list was both one of the easiest and hardest things I've ever had to do, right up there with choosing Tifa or Aerith as my FF7 waifu. The list was easy because there just isn't that many arcade-exclusive shmups left. I dug deep too, and while there are probably some that I missed, I wasn't even able to find 10 titles that have never received one port or another outside the arcades. The hard part came when deciding which of them to add to this list, since most of them are really, really good. So good, in fact, I'm genuinely shocked and appalled these amazing shmups have never received a more modern, widespread release on another platform. But after playing as many of them as I can get my hands on, I've definitively compiled this list of top 5 arcade-exclusive shmups that absolutely need to be ported to modern consoles and PCs so more people can enjoy them in all their shmuppy glory. And with that, let's get to number 5 on our list. Never heard of this one? Well, get used to it, because all the games on this list are fairly obscure. What may not be as obscure is this game was developed by Cave, the arguable king of the shooter genre, and published by Capcom. You know, the same Capcom that gave us Street Fighter 2, Resident Evil 2, Mega Man 2, and so many other number 2s that I could spend the rest of this list talking about them. But I'm here to gloat about Pro Gear no Arashi, not Capcom. That's another list for another time, wink wink. But Pro Gear has you piloting a cool World War II style plane against all manners of tanks, planes, and other flying machines that looked like they were ripped right out of Metal Slug. Impressively, this game puts Metal Slug to shame with how many more bullets fill the screen in Pro Gear, and you'll be making microscopic movements to avoid them all. Luckily, your hitbox is also microscopic, making all this possible. Don't let that fool you though. This game is one hard son of a bitch, and you'll die and die and die over and over again. With this game's awesome art style, amazing sprite-based graphics, and buttery smooth controls that all other Cave games are famous for as well, you'd have a very hard time finding a more worthwhile game to have ported to PSN, Xbox Live Arcade, or Steam. Damn it, Capcom or Cave or Martin Shkreli or whoever owns the rights to Pro Gear no Arashi, release this game to the masses and let everyone enjoy how incredible it is. I mean, how the hell has this game not been ported to as many devices as Skyrim at this point? I mean, just look at it. Sadly, this is just the start of our list, and we have a whole lot more arcade-exclusive shooters to go through. Let's move on to the next one, shall we? With a name like Thunder Dragon 2, you'd be insane not to include it on a list like this, right? Just like its predecessor of the same name minus the 2, Thunder Dragon 2 is a game that has been imprisoned on arcade PCBs and has never seen any sort of widespread port in nearly 30 years since it was released. And you want to talk about obscure, huh? If you haven't heard of this game, you definitely haven't heard of the developer either. Yep, NMK is the name, and making shmups that nobody has heard of or played is their game. In all seriousness though, more people should have played Thunder Dragon 2, which is a World War II style shooter similar to the much more famous and heavily ported 1943 series of shooters. This might be a bold statement, but I actually like Thunder Dragon 2 more than any of the 1943 series games. This game plays just as good, if not better, and also looks better too. With that said, however, I wouldn't call this game a masterpiece necessarily, but it is certainly a shooter that needs to be known and played by more people. If the rights to Pro Gear were a mystery, this game might as well be owned by an H&R Block accountant who won the rights to the entire NMK library after getting the high score on Whack-A-Mole at some random carnival in 2007. Greg Lambert at H&R Block, give the people Thunder Dragon 2. Don't be a heartless bastard and keep it all to yourself. The world needs this game, just like they need the next game on our list. So, you know, there's a little game called Battle Garega that may or may not be one of the best shmups ever made. No big deal or anything like that, just saying. While Battle Garega is a pretty well-known and beloved shooter, its sequel is unfortunately not. Yep, that's right, Battle Garega got a sequel called Battle Back Raid, developed by the same geniuses at the criminally underrated Rising in 1999. While not as good or iconic as Garega, Back Raid is absolutely no slouch in its own right, taking the similar steampunk-inspired theme and filling it with bullets, giant aircraft bosses, and all the madness that any shmup fan would pitch a tent over. One big advantage over Garega is its insistence on not using metallic-colored bullets as projectiles, which resulted in countless surprise deaths in that game. Nope, you'll have plenty of blue, purple, red, and green bullets burn brightly into your vision after just one playthrough of Back Raid, meaning if one of them hits you, it's on you. Sadly, it seems like Battle Back Raid was lost in the abyss of obscure late 90s arcade games and forgotten by most. That's a real shame, since this game is right up there with some of the very best shooters ever made. Its controls are ultra tight, its graphics are great, and overall it's hard to beat how balanced and well made this game is. Battle Garega was recently ported to modern consoles thanks to the saints over at M2, whom are doing the Lord's work as far as I'm concerned. Go ahead, look up all the amazing stuff they've worked on and helped port to modern platforms. Pretty much every retro gamer should be writing them a thank you letter and sending them a bouquet of rotting fruit, but it would be absolutely amazing if M2 or some other studio with experience porting arcade classics to modern consoles would pick up Battle Back Raid and make it available for more people to play. It's definitely criminal that it hasn't been done yet, but anyhow, next! Pretty much every single shmup fan, or hell, pretty much anyone who stepped foot in an arcade between 1990 and 1995 has heard of or played one of the Raiden games. Cool fact, Raiden was actually the first shooter I ever played, and I remember a good friend of mine and I used to talk about this game constantly like it was the best game ever made. While I certainly wouldn't call Raiden or any of its sequels the best game ever made, I would say its incredible 1995 spin-off, Viper Phase 1, is one of the most criminally underrated shooters ever, and sadly a game that is still to this day an arcade exclusive. If you love the Raiden games, then you're guaranteed to love Viper Phase 1, which is essentially Raiden in space. Yeah, how badass is that? Gone are the terrestrial tanks and conventional ship enemies, and instead you have awesome Star Wars / Battlestar Galactica style ships and bases. Viper Phase 1 is absolutely incredible looking and plays like a dream, and that frickin' soundtrack, I mean damn! At this point, every single Raiden game has been ported to some console at some point, yet Viper Phase 1 remains the hairless deformed twin with a heart of gold locked away in the attic. I mean, what the hell? Port this game already. They made an entire compilation of Raiden Fighters games. Give this spin-off the treatment it deserves too. But tragically, it sits on arcade boards and in the back alleys of the internet, available only to the hardcore. What a shame. While every single game on this list could be considered one of the better shooters ever made, Armed Police Batrider is legitimately one of the best, as in top 10 ever made. Yeah, it's seriously that good. Another entry on our list from Rising, the dev that gave us Battle Back Raid, Battle Garega, Kingdom Grand Prix, and Sokyo Gurentai, this game stands above almost all of those games as a legit STG masterpiece. Funny name aside, Armed Police Batrider has vibrant, colorful graphics, ultra cool enemy ships and bosses, a bitchin' soundtrack, hidden levels and branching paths, and frickin' story cutscenes. This game is a classic and should have been ported to every game console and PC since the early 2000s. Words cannot describe the level of quality present in Batrider, and it's one of the great tragedies in gaming that few have ever played this game. If I could make 3 gaming wishes, the first would be to make Sega a household name again, just getting that out of the way. The next wish would be to have the Shenmue saga actually conclude in my lifetime, and then finally, third would be to have every man, woman and child be able to play Armed Police Bat Rider. This game is just that amazing and that good, I swear to you. Play it on MAME, buy the board on eBay for $1,000 or more. Just please play this incredible arcade exclusive. But damn it, someone just please make this game available on Steam or PSN, please. And with that, those are our top 5 arcade exclusive shmups that need widespread releases. Which ones did I miss? Which ones are your favorites? Let me know, boys and girls, and until next time, this is Wiggles signing off. Peace.